We're here in Choctaw County in the town of Hugo, and we're going to be looking at the yard of Helen Marshall. Helen has been gardening for a few years, and she's agreed to show us around her yard. Hello, Helen.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to Oklahoma Gardening.
Thank you. We're happy to have you.
Well, thank you very much.
See my yard. I feel flattered and honored that someone else thinks enough of it to come and look at it.
Well, we think it's wonderful, and we're glad to be here.
Well, thank you.
So, Helen,
Thank
how
you.
many years have you been gardening?
I built my house here 42 years ago, and in May I moved in and I started a flower bed.
Okay.
So I've been having flowers ever since.
Okay, and gardening is your secret to staying
Well,
young, is that right?
Well, about the young part, but anyhow, I like to. And I've also had a little vegetable garden over there earlier, but the pecan tree got too large, and I had to give that up. So
And you take care of everything here?
I take care of everything. Man comes about twice a month and cleans off the ditch banks with his weed eater for me. And once in a while, if it's where I don't want to mow, he will mow, but I do it all.
For the most part, you do the mowing and the weed eating.
Well, I do the weed eating and pulling the grass and all of it.
That's a big job. Well, Helen, right back here, I understand that this used to look a lot different, but it's kind of changed recently.
Right.
What happened?
The ice storm going on 3 years ago in December, there was 4 big bodark trees there. They were leaning that way, and they were top heavy, and the ice took them down.
Took them out.
Left this a big hole, and then when the men come and cut up the trees, they cut the roots off, and that left a big hole, so I had to have that filled in with sand. Just made a bed there.
Made you a flower bed.
Made a flower bed.
And I like the way you've covered up the stumps with
well,
the hyacinth bean.
Yes, because they were mighty ugly, but some friends gave me some seed. I had seen those. They're kind of like a butter bean. Have you seen the seed?
Pretty.
A pod.
Yeah.
And so the sunflowers come up volunteer from the bird seed.
From your bird seed?
From the bird seed.
And you have a lot of flowering plants out in the front of your house, in front of your hedges.
Yes.
And
yes.
if something works well for you, you keep planting it. Is that right?
Well, most of the time. And then I'll just trial and error.
Okay. Try something.
Try
and,
something.
If it works, go with it, right?
So, some old pots, things that I brought from home that, years ago.
Well, those are really neat garden decorations.
And then those are things that, you want me to tell you what they were used for?
What are those used for?
This big one was for molasses in the winter. This was a water jug they carried to the field. They put molasses in that one, and that was a lard jar.
A lard jar.
When the maid killed the hogs and made lard, they poured it in that, and that was what we had to cook with.
All right. Well, those are neat garden decorations. You also have a large pot over here that has some history behind it.
Yeah, and this bell.
And the bell. Tell us about the bell and the story behind that.
It was one that we had out at home. I lived 1.25 miles west of the Goodland School, southwest. I've gotten 5 miles from home. And that was on a stand, and I rung that at 11:30. I was just a kid.
That was your job.
That was my job, to ring the bell at 11:30. And then my father would look up at the sun like that to see if I rung it early. And people farming, in the neighborhood, the community, they could hear it.
Everybody could hear the bell.
Everybody could hear it. It was news. It was time to go in for dinner.
Okay, and your father did farming.
Oh, yes.
And you would send his workers home for lunch.
Well, yes, sometimes we fed some of them too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Isn't that a long time ago?
I noticed you have a lot of larkspurs around.
Oh, yes,
and,
yes.
You sowed the seeds long ago, and they just keep coming back, right?
They keep coming back, and they volunteer. I've lost my pink ones, I guess, whenever I've weeded them out. And that poor bed, iris bed, got away from me, I'll have to admit.
Okay.
So,
but these pop up everywhere, in the cracks of the sidewalks.
The cracks, right there.
And everywhere.
One in the sidewalks.
All right. And you have a tree back here that you have really nice, dense shade.
Chinaberry umbrella.
The tree, the umbrella-like Chinaberry.
Chinaberry. umbrella.
That's a very dense shade underneath
It makes
there.
a good one.
Okay.
Oh, it was.
All right.
It froze back one year, and I didn't have a very good shade, but it's come back in the last 10 years or so.
Very, very dark
And
green.
it's really, really good.
Okay, and tell us about
this
the pot over
pot-
here. It's got a neat history
Of course,
behind it.
this is our wash pot. That's our wash pot, if you know what a wash. This belonged to Governor LaFleur, who was chief of the Choctaws, and he cooked pashofa, and it's a meat dish. I mean, a meat, a hominy, and meat, and I don't know what else they put in it. Pretty good. I mean,
Okay.
And he fed the slaves.
So this has been around a while.
And he gave it to my father years and years and years ago, because of course the Governor LaFleur, that was more than 100 years ago.
Sure.
So,
And
so I brought it in from home after I built my house, and started accumulating this and that.
okay. And you've been growing plants in it
I've been growing
ever
plants.
since. Okay.
Yeah, I don't make pashofa.
Okay. Well,
I don't
Helen,
need that much.
thank you so much for showing
Well,
us
you're
around
more
your
than
yard.
welcome. I feel really, really flattered.